Do search Rainier Avenue Radio, and remember, do not curse out your fellow drivers. This has been your Rainier Avenue Radio traffic update.
Hey, Seattle, Shop the Beat is back. Shop the Beat supports the economic recovery of small businesses, local musicians, and neighborhoods throughout Seattle. This program matches small retail businesses with local musicians to host free in-store performances during peak shopping hours to help increase foot traffic and sales for retailers and provide competitive pay for musicians who were significantly impacted by the City of Seattle Office of Economic Development is currently
1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2.
first.
Hello, listener. What's important to you about what's going on in your community? Are you interested? Are you concerned? In any case, I invite you to tune into my show, Seattle Here and Now, on Rainier Avenue Radio App. Why? I will be covering a wide range of topics important to you and impacting the community. Each show will have a special guest or guests to share with you information on a variety of subjects that are happening here and now in Seattle. I promise I will work hard to make my show informative, interesting, and entertaining. Be sure to listen to Seattle Here and Now on Rainier Avenue Radio World.
What's up, everyone? It's your girl, Queen Bree, inviting you to come join me on Clean Greens Living. Broadcasted Tuesdays, 12:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, live right here on Rainier Avenue Radio. On Clean Greens Living, we talk farming, community, and ways to being healthy. So come join me and let's discuss ways to create a healthier you and a healthier community.
The Earshot Jazz Festival kicks off October 8th and spreads out over 10 Seattle stages through November 6th with concerts all around the city. All concerts live and in person, and many of them streamed directly to your home. Tickets and information available up online. Earshot.org. It's the Earshot Jazz Festival 2022. See you soon.
This is Paul Pearson, host of Star Time. And when I'm not using my GPS to navigate the land of 1,000 dances, I'm listening to Rainier Avenue Radio .world.
Welcome to this week's edition of Street Beat. It's me, your host, Tony B, and we'll definitely be talking about the beat of the city. Joining me in the program a little later on will be Kate Becker of King County Executive Officer's Dal Constantine's office, and then also Tracey Wickersham, the Senior Director of Cultural Tourism, and we're going to be talking about this thing called the Cloudbreak Music Festival. Have you heard of it? If you haven't, we're going to give you everything you need to know about this festival coming up. I think it's a really cool thing. I'm excited to share this information with you, and it's going to be about nightlife too. So you definitely want to, check out what's going on here. A little later on today, I want to remind everyone that we'll be coming to you live from Sharm El Sheikh, Egypt. We'll be broadcasting. Our very own Edgar Franks is in Egypt right now, and it's the United Nations Climate Conference. So we're going to give you environmental justice information, the latest updates directly from Egypt. That's going to air at 7 o'clock tonight. And for those of you who are listening internationally, and then just so that you know, it's also going to air at 3 a.m. again, so that it's prime time to our audience in Egypt and around the world that we'll be broadcasting to. So that's 7 o'clock tonight, live from the United Nations Climate Conference. And then also, again, 3 o'clock in the morning as well. Now, in addition to that, it's football season. We're into the playoffs. The Metro League Coach of the Year is Corey Sampson of Rainier Beach. We're Rainier Avenue Radio, so, big shout out to Corey. Rainier Beach is going to be playing again in the round of 16 for the state championships. We will be broadcasting these games live, as we always do. You'll have an opportunity to see Eastside Catholic taking on Spanaway Lake at Memorial Stadium at 1 o'clock. We'll be broadcasting that to you live, and then we will also be broadcasting Kennewick versus Rainier Beach, the Beach Boys, at 4 o'clock. So if you can't get to the stadium, you know how we get in. We will bring the game to you on all of our Rainier Avenue Radio platforms. So it's that Saturday, and again tonight, don't forget, live to you from Egypt, and that's just this week's programming. That's what we have coming up week. But you know, we do this again 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So let me get to my notes here, because I want to get this right. All right. I want to welcome to the program now Kate Becker and Tracey Wickersham. Thank you both for being here. So we're going to be talking about, I'm going to do this little spiel here, and then I want to have a real conversation, but this is really cool. And so it is, again, the Cloudbreak Music Festival, Seattle's Revive Live Music Fest, a new festival. It's started on the 3rd to the 23rd. It says one-time festival, but I'm hoping it's going to be more than that. It is produced in partnership by Seattle's destination marketing organization, Visit Seattle. Tracey, you Visit Seattle, yes. Right? And King County. And yeah, okay. See, we got it all going on for here. Cloudbreak invites visitors and locals to experience Seattle's live music as venues once again host concerts after the COVID-19 pandemic. Not that it's over. So I'm not saying that. We still a good idea to be careful, but this pandemic did cause a number of venues to shutter their doors temporarily, but things are opening back up. And here's the cool part. As part of this unique music-driven festival, hotel guests at 70 participating downtown Seattle hotels will gain free access to more than 60 concerts across the city throughout the course of the festival. And my understanding is it's like about 150 musicians that are going to be participating in the Cloudbreak Festival. So before we get started talking about this, Kate, I'll just start with you. Give us a little bit of information about your background. And I gave that long title, but I'll do it again. Let's see, what do I have here? No, I don't even have it here. Like Creative Economy and Recovery Director in King County Executive Dale Constantine's office. I'm going to say it again. Okay, so this is the long title. Creative Economy and Recovery Director in King County Executive Dale Constantine's office. So I know in the city, y'all have to have them, $25 titles. What does that mean? What do you do? What do you tell us what you do? It sounds like a big job.
It is a big job, and I am really honored to be in this position because we launched our initiatives, which were centered in film and music production, in the months before the pandemic hit. So then the pandemic hit, and my title got "and recovery" added to it, which I am really, it's been quite a time working with venue owners, musicians, filmmakers, artists, trying to figure out how to navigate these waters we were in unexpectedly. And we knew that folks who have stages, folks who work on stages, folks who run stages, folks who rely on big audiences were particularly impacted in a way that we knew we had to step in. The executive from the day this all started was in my ear saying, please get on the phone with these folks every single day. Let's make sure we're hearing what's happening out there so we can get information. And I was essentially a communication point between public health and the creative industries and trying to figure out how to navigate these waters. So hundreds and hundreds of Zoom meetings over the past 2 years is what I've been doing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We want to learn more about that because, again, I think a lot of folks would agree that our nightlife is essential and it is part of the culture of our city. And we're going to talk more about, but I want to bring Tracey on as well, Senior Director, Cultural Tourism. I think that sounds like what I think it sounds like.
Yeah, although I do get asked a lot, Tony, to define what that
Yeah, well, I'm going to ask you to get down like that the same way. So what does that mean? Explain to what Senior Director of Tourism. Cultural tourism.
So I do work for Visit Seattle, which is a nonprofit private economic development organization. That's one misconception. A lot of people think that Visit Seattle is actually part of local government. We are not. We are a nonprofit. But our mission, we are the official tourism marketing organization for Seattle and King County. So it's our role to bring people to our great region. I have the incredible privilege of serving as the director, now senior director. That just means I've been around for a while, Tony. So senior director of cultural tourism, which is that I'm promoting our arts, our culture, our heritage, our unique places as a reason for people to travel to this region. So of
Nice.
course that includes music.
Well, and it very well should. And I'm just saying that this city's historical, legacy for music is one that is known, not only just around the country, but around the world.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I know we're going to get into this, but part of the reason why we're so excited about Cloudbreak is it builds on that legacy, but it also helps tell a wider story about Seattle music today. And that's something that we are constantly trying to remind people that, yes, we have a musical legacy here that we're really proud about, but we also have a future and we have a current music community that is covering the map with really, really incredible music that we want to share with the world.
Okay, we're going to be talking about the Cloudbreak Festival and what's going on there, but this is just a good opportunity to delve into some other things. So if you've been wondering what's been going on with the nightlife scene, and initially this was on everybody's mind, because all of a sudden people started just hearing this thing about gig workers, and all these places were shutting down. And a lot of people didn't have work, and then it was, okay, what are we going to do about, compensating them for, not all that stuff. One of the things that I know that came out of this was the growth of the Seattle Nightlife Association, which, a lot of nightclubs, not just in this city, but around the country, banded together and just talk about that a little bit to kind of set the table if we look back at what happened. And, I'm not saying it was a completely fractured community, but the nightlife community came together.
Indeed. Yes, they did. Both at the local and national level, the nightlife community came together. So here in Seattle and in Washington, the Washington Nightlife and Music Association launched. Starting in April of 2020, we actually launched an initiative. Tracey was a part of this too. We launched an initiative called Reopen Every Venue Safely. And it was all about bringing the venue owners together to help figure out how are we going to navigate this time and get back to a place where business can be reopened. The Washington Nightlife and Music Association also formed, and it's been a collective of venue owners from across the state, mostly centered here in this region, who have worked together to figure out how to make sure that most of them survive. So, and then at the national level, NIVA, the National Independent Venue Association, formed and really did a bang-up job of leading the Save Our Stages initiative and $16 billion in recovery funds to help make sure that those venues got back together. And that amount of money is just astounding. It is more than the NEA and the NEH, the National Endowment for the Arts, National Endowment for the Humanities, have contributed to the arts sector in their existence. So big dollars, because the advocacy from the venue owners, they got the right legislators on board to champion it. It was bipartisan and they got it done. It was amazing.
So Tracey, cultural tourism.
Yeah.
So when I hear that, to me, that means the history of the city and all of the different cultures that have been part of the city's growth and art.
Yeah.
And that as a draw to come to Seattle.
Precisely.
For a lot of people, which again is, I just put it that way, that's a value, 100%. To the city. And it seems like for a long time there's this battle about, well, it's Seattle's nightlife scene and this community and that community, and it disrupts. And I'm saying there's a lot of good, but you know what I mean. Yeah. It's a big part of who we are. You correct me if I'm wrong, and you can say differently if you choose to. But let's talk about when the pandemic happened. And what that did and what that looked like and what your role at that point was that a big shift for you in how you do your job and reality check or whatever it was?
Oh, it was devastating. And I know we're not alone. It was devastating across so many sectors, but of course the tourism industry essentially disappeared overnight. And so specifically for Visit Seattle, as a private nonprofit, most of our funding is derived from some form of lodging tax. And overnight, that lodging tax disappeared. So did more than half of our staff. So did almost all of our budget. And we ended up being a very small crew of people who were working part-time schedules, being furloughed, while trying to grapple with a whole industry in free fall. And for Visit Seattle, I mean, my role and my passion is focusing on cultural tourism, which is exactly what you said. It is focusing about our history and heritage, our diverse communities and neighborhoods, our arts, our museums, our music venues, our theaters, all those places. Those were all shut down. In addition to that, our overall travel industry was disappearing. Our international travel, which prior to the pandemic makes up about 12%. That's overseas. That's not counting actually Canada or Mexico. That's counting people who are flying in from overseas destinations. That was 12% of our mix. Those airlines stopped flying. Those people stopped coming, and obviously for good reason. The whole conventions and meetings market collapsed, the business travel market collapsed, and the leisure travel market collapsed. So we found ourselves in looking at 86,000 jobs in King County are derived from the tourism industry. We're Washington's 4th largest industry. And suddenly all these people were out of work. And we had to reinvent what we do because it obviously wasn't effective, appropriate, or wise to try to encourage people to travel in the midst of a pandemic. That wasn't going to happen. But we were trying to figure out how do we redeploy with the small staff we have while working with industry partners to try to plan for a future recovery, rebooking those meetings, rebooking those international tours, and then how do we also find ways to support our community? And we did shift to a more local strategy of trying to really encourage people who live here to get out and support the places that they love in the most effective and safe way. But that's not typically what we do as a tourism organization. So yeah, it was a lot of redefining, relearning, and working with a very small crew. And I'm really proud to say that I was part of that crew, that Visit Seattle saw the value in keeping a person dedicated to cultural tourism throughout the pandemic.
You are listening to Street Beat. It's me, your host, Tony B. We're talking about the Cloudbreak Music Festival, but I had to get you some context. And it's always good. I don't know that you know, but we have done a fantastic job here at Rainier Avenue Radio of covering the coronavirus. And we've done over 250 shows from a number of different angles. And we started on March 13th, 2020, doing that. So it's still good to hear because it's not like we're past it, but you hear in so many different ways how this has impacted what we've done, and good to have what we have now. So now that gets me to the point of what I was talking about. So there comes this thing called the Cloudbreak Festival. The Cloudbreak Music Festival. I talked a little bit about what it is. Whichever one of you want to handle this. I read the press release, but the Cloudbreak Music Festival. How did this come about? What is it? I talked about how it works. The tourists get tickets, and you partner with hotel rooms, so you can even talk at the same time if you want to. But tell me about the Cloudbreak.
Well, I think Kate should address the inception, because the inception was from her with the nugget, and then the partnership started, and I can take it from there, Kate.
Okay. So we had reserved.
Don't be bashful.
We had reserved a fund because we knew that both music and tourism were being hit very hard. And we had some lodging tax that we had reserved, and we decided to activate that lodging tax as part of this campaign. And so we were, of course, there's no better partner than Visit Seattle to work on this with us. Tracey is a huge music lover, as you've heard. And so we came together and really pulled together to figure out, okay, how can we focus on music tourism and musician recovery? Because a lot of public funds had already gone to help stabilize the venues. But the folks who actually work on those stages had a much harder time of navigating the pandemic without public support. As you referenced, gig workers, many musicians are gig workers, and there wasn't the kind of support that I think we all would like to have seen for artists and musicians and other gig workers. And so this is a combination of music tourism and musician recovery. Those funds are going directly to the musicians. The venues are our partners in this. They are not being compensated through that funding. This is all musician funding. So Tracey, take it from there if you'd like.
So when Kate reached out and said, this is our goal, we want to support musician recovery and music tourism, and we have some funding. I mean, as I've said to our team, there was only one answer to that phone call, and that was an enthusiastic yes. So we were able to sort of bring the talents and the skill set that we have as the tourism marketing organization to say, we can help brand this, we can help market this. I mean, I think one of the important things is this isn't a traditional festival in the way that, a festival books the whole lineup and puts on the event. Each individual partner venue was invited to submit their proposal. They did the booking. They are marketing and promoting their shows the way they ordinarily would, with the one caveat, which is, again, they're getting support for artist fees, and they're being asked to hold back a percentage of the house that we are then making those tickets available to our music tourists, and then we're umbrellaing the whole thing under Cloudbreak. So Visit Seattle stepped in and we built the website. We created the branding and the collateral and the marketing campaign, and we have brought in our hotel partners to be part of this. So we have 70 partners that are part of the Seattle Tourism Improvement Area, and those hotels are getting out this word about, if you stay with us during these dates, you can go see these incredible shows. And then we also lead the sort of out of region media outreach, because that's what Visit Seattle does. We really target media that are in our feeder markets, that are in the markets where our visitors are coming from, and getting them to tell the story. So it's been a incredibly fluid, and I'm really happy to say incredibly positive partnership between our two organizations. I think it's one of those things where, when there's a lot of respect for everybody in the room, and there's an understanding that we have shared and overlapping goals, and there's a little bit of building the plane while we're flying it, because we were so depleted in staff and resources, and it was like, we need to support these artists and these venues and this tourism now. And so it's been amazing to watch the community all pull together.
By the way, we're coming to you live from the historic Columbia City Theater 2, the big stage. And I guess one of the things that I'm thinking about as you're explaining everything that you have going on, and I'm gonna get to some other questions here too as well, but putting something together like this, I would like to give you the opportunity for some shameless self-promotion right now before I get into some other questioning. So for those of you who are listening outside of Seattle, thinking about coming to Seattle, for those of you who are listening to the other areas and you want to do this before the 23rd, because we're going to talk more about what this is. How can they participate? Okay, how do they become eligible, for this thing, and it's the holidays, How do they do that? If they're listening from other places, well, that's all right. I'll go to Seattle for that.
Come on in. Go to cloudbreakmusicfest.org, and you will find the whole lineup of shows that are running between now and November 23rd. You will find a list of the partnering hotels. You just need to book yourself a stay. And I have actually heard that some locals are booking some staycations because they want to get, some of these shows are sold out. So the way to get in is you book yourself a hotel room, and then you get yourself down to the venue early. So you make sure you get in, because there is a capacity limit. We can't promise everybody will get in. And that's how you do it. So it's easy. Everybody's invited. We are inviting the world in to see our incredible music community.
And if you live here, you can still buy a ticket.
Oh, yes, 100%.
But if you're thinking from out of town or taking a staycation, the way to do this again is you stay at one of the participating hotels. Yep. And
they give you a credential, and then you show up at the venue, and the venue says, "Welcome, come on in." And
you get in for $3.
$3.
Yeah. Okay. So this is really, 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 really cool, and then I wanted to make sure. Some of the questions that I do have are, again, you make these decisions, and one of the things when you make decisions because you're trying to do stuff, it is inequitable. And I don't know. And you can say, well, man, why are you bringing? I'm bringing it up because it's a reality. How are the groups chosen? How were the venues chosen? I don't know that there are a number of Black or minority-owned clubs anyway. But was that factored into the decision? And I know that times are changing and people are saying, well, let's get rid of affirmative action, whatever. I'm just asking the question. And the same thing, how are the groups chosen? What was this process that allowed this festival to take place that we're talking about again? And how many different venues are we talking about?
What do we have now, Kate?
28.
28 different venues. I said over 150 musicians.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's right.
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay. Just kind of tell me how this happened, and I'm asking so that I will know, and so that the listeners will know from our perspective how thoughtful this process was to everybody.
Okay. So we had been working with venues throughout the pandemic, and they had invited every venue, every music venue, to be a part of that collective, the Washington Nightlife and Music Association. And we had identified music venues when we talked about what is a music venue? Live music at least 3 times a week on the average. So we are not talking about, a house band that plays every Friday night or something like that. We are talking about venues that are constantly featuring our local musicians. So that was our definition of music venue, was that 3 times a week on the average, you have live music on your stage or in your room. So then we reached out to all of the venues through the network and invited them to be a part of it. Not everyone stepped up to that plate, but a lot of venues did, and very enthusiastically stepped up to that plate. Then we asked the venue owners and their talent buyers to actually book the talent and bring proposals forward to us. Of course, we wanted to focus on diversity. We made sure that we reached out as far as we could in the time frame we had to invite everyone to be a part. Could we do deeper, more equitable work were we to do this again? Of course, we can always do better on equity than we do. We can always work harder, but we had some limited resources and some limited time, and we moved forward and tried to be as equitable as possible as we could in that process.
Okay. Well, I don't know what that looks like, and I don't know what that necessarily means, but go to the website.
Yeah, look at the lineups.
This is the lineup. I think, the process was the venues needed to book the artists that they know work for their space and their audience. But there was absolutely a commitment to diversity and making sure that we had diverse musical genres being represented, and that we had not the same artists appearing over and over. We wanted to see breadth of talent. And again, Visit Seattle we didn't curate the artists, but we did say very strongly that this was about, again, celebrating and honoring and lifting up the musicians that are working in our community today in all of those forums. And I think we have a really excellent lineup, and there were many venues that we would have wanted to include, like this one. So hopefully if we do this again, you will be up and running with shows again, and we'll be able to have it in. So.
Well, and just like with a lot of things, sometimes people say, I can't wait for things to get back to normal. But you have a group of people who are saying, normal wasn't working for me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So by the same token, if this is, again, the usual suspects, they weren't the only ones impacted. And I think that the pandemic showed us, that systems were not working the way that people thought that systems were working. So if this is about Revive, this is Rainier Avenue Radio. So I'm representing our community and making sure and ensuring that our community is part of that thought process and moving forward. And maybe some folks who weren't part of that process, this is a good time to say, as we build forward, are we doing this in a way where we're working, with nightclubs where they think larger than the usual suspects? You know what I'm saying? Because that's what's closest. That's something that has gone on for hundreds of years. First, we'll take care of this, then we'll get to that. So I'm not saying that was the case. I'm just saying That's something that I'm definitely, you already know, I'm going to ask about that. But so let's talk about the Cloudbreak Music Festival again, and the types of things that are going to be going on. I know you don't have the schedule here, but we've got some venues, and I love the fact that musicians are getting paid and clubs are getting paid. Is this sustainable? Is this one time doing this? Is this sustainable? Is this something that can be an annually event?
Well, until we're done with this one, we won't know for sure, but we are paying keen attention, collecting all the data, and we will evaluate, did it work? And if it worked, then of course, then we would advocate for additional funding to do it again. So do we have that funding locked up? No, but are we good at navigating these kind of waters? We're pretty good at it. Yeah, at figuring out, here's this opportunity we should not miss out on. How do we get political support and public funding around it? So
I'm going to ask you the same question too, but I'm going to ask you first. So what does success look like for you from your perspective as what was that simpler title again? Cultural arts,
Cultural
tourism director. Yeah.
So what success looks like ultimately for Visit Seattle, we do have, pretty hard metrics about, are we seeing increased hotel occupancy? Are people coming to visit our destination? So we are going to look at that. We're also going to look at website traffic and how many people engaged with this message, especially in year one of a brand new initiative. We recognize that it does take time to build an audience. We're also looking at our media coverage and the amount of stories that are getting told on the national and international landscape about Seattle and music. And I do want to, and then there's another measure of success, which no matter what, we have already succeeded in, which is that artists, musicians, and again, not venues, but artists and musicians are being paid to perform. And that, to me, is a huge win. And the fact that we have been getting so much attention about the story about Seattle's music community today, and the challenges, yes, but also the incredible success that a lot of these musicians are having, that's really important to me. I think I do want to jump in on Kate's answer as well, which I would echo exactly what she said, but also add that I want to be sure and share with you that Visit Seattle always is committed to promoting music tourism. Cloudbreak is a new thing, and it's a new tangible, like we've never before done this thing where you can actually get tickets to go to a show. But we have been promoting music and music tourism through our work for years. It's a major pillar of what we do. We're really proud that a number of years ago, speaking to a media person, I'm happy to tell you this, that quite a number of years ago, Visit Seattle was the first DMO, is the acronym that's used in our world. It stands for Destination Marketing Organization. We were the first major DMO to shift a lot of our marketing effort into content and into creating our own Visit Seattle TV channel. And if you look at the content on Visit Seattle TV, which we have created thousands of pieces of content now, a large percentage of it is focused on music and creators. And so we're going to continue to do those things. We will evaluate resources, both human and financial, and success to say. And also we need to hear from the venues. We need to hear from the venues that participated as well as the venues that didn't participate and say, did this work for you? How could we make it better? So, nothing is successful if you sort of top down it. We need to make sure that we have everybody's voices to decide what we do going forward.
Cool. And I gave you some time, Kate, to think about it, because not that you're not held to a certain standard, but as a city organization, that gets funding, or county organization that gets funding, your accountability is a little different.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm assuming it should be, because you're elected officials and stuff like that. So what same question though, what does success of this program look like for you in your office?
Did we put some shine on the Seattle music scene? Did people around the region and around further than the region know what we were doing? Did they hear about it through the media, through our musicians, through our venues? Did folks come out? Were the shows successful? Did we put some funding into the pockets of our musicians? Did the whole thing work overall? Yeah.
You are again listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world. It's me, your host, Tony B. We're talking about the Cloudbreak Music Festival. This is a brand new music festival. I'm trying to talk them into doing it on an annual basis because it is really cool. I'm just really digging the entire concept of, okay, one of the ways to come to recovery. And I'm not mad about you paying, venues. Maybe somebody owns venue, but you know what? Then people get to work who weren't working, who are looking for, for what they're doing. And so and then again, the musicians getting the opportunity and then putting an emphasis on that and then having the opportunity to engage and invite people from literally all over the world, to come. This could be a thing. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm not comparing it to, but we just finished doing the Earshot Jazz Festival, where venues are all over the city. People come from all over performers come from all over the world. And 34 years? Yeah. So I'm thinking, and I'm not sweating you, Kate, but I'm thinking you can figure out how to get this funded.
You are right. Yes.
Again, this is Tony B. You're listening to Street Beat right here on Rainier Avenue Radio.world. We're talking about the Cloudbreak Music Festival. Before we finish up, one more again, if folks want to find out information about who's performing, the venues, what can they do?
Cloudbreakmusicfest.org. It's all right there.
Cloudbreakmusicfest.org.
That's it.
And if you're local, you can buy tickets. And do you have to go to the venue, or how do you?
Yeah, the venues are selling tickets the way they always do. So if you're local, if you're going to the Royal Room, or you're going to the Clock Out, or you're going to the Crocodile, you're just buying your tickets the way you ordinarily do. And if you're visiting, you're going to check into one of those hotels that's on the website and make sure and request your Cloudbreak access pass.
70 different hotels.
70.
Now, you said this, so I'm just going to make sure, because I'm not trying to trick people. You said you do this, you make sure in advance, and then when you get there, they give you a pass?
Yep. When you check in.
When you check in.
You're given your pass, and then you show up at the venue. The venue is holding space. Now, once that space is full, it's full. Okay. But they are holding those spaces for our Cloudbreak hotel guests.
All right. Well, see, there you go. Is that not my phone? Okay.
A little break.
That's what happens when you're live. And since nobody's here, we didn't say cut off the cell phones, which is why it could have been me. But anyway, again, first of all, I appreciate you both for what you're doing for our music communities and for our nightclub communities and our night venue communities. We need Seattle to come back in that way. And I certainly don't want to sound cynical, but a lot of times when you hear about our nightlife scene, not the big major concerts, you know what I mean, but about the different, you hear negative things, people, but the nightlife scene is so important.
So important.
To who we are here and what we do here. And we need to make sure that Seattle, again, I don't think we would be doing an honor to the legacy that we have in this city of people who have been here and traveled here if we didn't ensure that legacy continued for the next group of musicians, that are coming up. That's just my little personal soapbox. So I'm going to give y'all a time here to say some final words if you'd like to. On whatever it is that you want to say. Now is that time. Now is that opportunity, Kate. Since we started with you this time, I'm going to, Tracey, let you go first. And just final words that you'd like to say to those who are watching and listening, and all that.
I just want to extend the welcome mat and say, come to Seattle, come meet these incredible people like Tony and this place that makes our city vibrant, that come see our musicians. We really, we're proud of this community. We're proud of our creative economy here. We're proud of our musicians and our artists and our creators and our thinkers. And we want to welcome the world in. So I'm really, really happy to be partnering with all these musicians and music venues and King County Creative Economy. And Tony, I'm just really grateful that you welcomed us in to have this conversation. And I appreciate your thoughtfulness about what we're doing and your support. So thanks.
And Kate, opportunity, same deal. Thank you for the work you've done for a while.
I've been at it a while. Yeah.
Anything that you want to say? I know there is, but yeah.
I just hope that you all are a part of our music community. And if you're not, I invite you to come out and be a part of it, because it is fantastic what is being created in this region. And I just don't want you to miss out. So come on out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just straight to the point, huh?
Yeah. Well, I could say more, Tony. I could go on for a while, but I don't know what our cutoff time is.
Okay.
Here.
Well, if you want to take another minute or so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I just want to talk a bit about the work I do overall. The Creative Economy Initiative is all about keeping our creatives employed, our small businesses and our nonprofits thriving. That is really at the heart of our work, and that is what we are committed to. And we need everybody to be a part of this. This is nothing we can do in a silo. So just want to make you aware that we are doing that work. The executive has championed it. The King County Council has championed it. And I have the great honor of leading that. And we really have open doors and want folks to be involved. So come on.
Yeah, this is community radio. So we try to give you the space so that you don't have to talk in sound bites, and you can share information. And our communities want information, just with the things that people have to do. I know that we have to share information because people need information quick because they're moving around. But then on Rainier Avenue Radio, you know that you can tune in and you can stop and sit down and say, let's find out what's going on. So thank both of you for being here. You're going to have to sit through my shameless self-promotion for a second here while I talk about some things that we've got going on. Again, tonight at 7:00, airing the United Nations Climate Change Conference. Frontline communities in Washington State will have a voice at the 2022 United Nations Climate Change Conference in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt this month, as farm worker advocate Edgar Franks, our very own Edgar Franks, joins a delegation of United States-based workers and environmental justice leaders to bear witness at this annual meeting and strategize with advocates from around the globe. Franks is the policy director of Familias Unidas por la Justicia, an independent farm worker union and front and centered member organization based in Skagit Valley with over 500 members from across Washington State, doing their part on an international level, to ensure that our voices are represented in environmental justice and climate change issues. That's really a big deal. You know what I'm saying? That's a really big deal. And so you can tune in at 7:00 and find that information out right here on Rainier Avenue Radio 7 to 8. And again, if you're going, I live out of the country, and part of the reason I want to tune in is to hear that perspective that's coming from Washington, about climate change and environmental justice. 3 a.m. and it'll be whatever time it is there. That's normal listening hours for you to be awake and be able to do that. So that's tonight at 7. And then again this Saturday, we're down to 16 now. 3 of our Metro League teams have survived. We'll be broadcasting 2 of those games. O'Day actually plays tomorrow night. But we're going to be broadcasting Eastside Catholic, undefeated Eastside Catholic, and they'll be taking on Spanaway Lake at Memorial Stadium, Leon H. Brigham Field. Yes, that's also how we get down in Rainier Avenue Radio. We broadcast high school football. We talk about nightlife. We give you information on climate change. You know why we do that? Because these are all things that take place in our community. All things that people, care about. Some people say, well, that's kind of a train wreck. You guys should stick to one thing. Well, that's not the community that we live in. Our community does everything. And so that's, if you like it, we're just a reflection of our community. If you don't like it, we're a reflection of our community. And that's why I know that we have so many different listeners as well. And another thing, we broadcast in Tagalog, in Fijian, in Vietnamese, in just a number of different languages as well. So shout out to those shows, Phil Am Radio, and all of our shows that help us with the international audiences. And then the second game, the Beach Boys, Rainier Beach, has made it, and they will be playing Kennewick from Eastern Washington. Kennewick coming over here from Eastern Washington. Again, Kennewick having to take this rough road through Metro League. But last year, Kennewick beat O'Day and beat Eastside Catholic and went to the finals. They had to travel over the mountains twice to come here, and we developed a lot of fans in Kennewick because we were broadcasting the game. So we still have love for Kennewick. Now they're taking on Rainier Beach and Metro League Coach of the Year. So Saturday should be a big game. Saturday's going to be a really big game, just statewide, and then specifically for this community and obviously for the folks in Kennewick too. So there's some tourists. As a matter of fact, those of you who are coming over here from Kennewick, check out the hotel situation and you get some added value bonus while you're here.
That's right.
Right?
That's
See?
right. And this weekend is packed with shows because it's also the Freak Out Festival. So
The
there's
Freak
so
Out
much
Festival.
going on. Yeah.
Okay, the Freak Out Festival. All right. So again, it's 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock, and you can tune into our Rainier Avenue Radio platforms and find out where you can watch the game, or you can just come to Rainier Avenue Radio.world, and everything will be taken care of. That's it. Again, thank both of you for joining me and having this conversation about Cloudbreak Festival, the Cloudbreak Music Festival. So we're gonna do this again next year.
He's trying
I
to get
hope
us
so.
on the record.
I hope so.
We want to. You've got 2 fans. So.
It's a good thing for our communities. And I know you got my vote, and we would like to be involved next year too. At this historic theater, do something incredible and amazing from here for the tourists and be part of this whole thing. That's it. That's all the time I have. That's going to do it for the kid. It's me, Tony B, your host of Street Beat, saying, remember, whether you believe you can or whether you believe you can't, you are probably right. I'm out.